What is up?
What's going on, man?
Not much. Tonight's stories will be about what happened in Michigan and, of course, St. Louis with the McCloskeys, and then that couple who got kicked out or were trying to leave Chipotle and then were being harassed.
Okay.
Right. So in your job, you're more of a defensive person, like training people for self-defense.
Yes.
All right. What would you say for the Michigan case to start out? Would you say that they should have stayed in their car even though they were being harassed and tried not to have to pull their guns out when they did? Because I don't.
In order to talk about the Michigan case, we got to have a little bit of backstory, right? So,
right.
Just a small backstory is you had one couple and a mother and a daughter. So you had a couple, husband and wife, and then you had a mother and a daughter who there was apparently a minor physical interaction between the wife and the daughter, where the wife apparently bumped the daughter or reportedly bumped the daughter, didn't use manners, common manners, hey, excuse me, sorry about that, whatever.
Yeah.
And that led to an escalation. You got a mother who is, right or wrong, is moms are going mom, right? I mean, they're about their babies. They're going to be excitable. And then you have the woman. And then it does look like they're being harassed. They're trying to leave. They're being harassed. And, people are justifying her getting back out of her van and pulling her gun. So ultimately to answer your question, we had to understand that backstory. Now, there are a couple of things that went on in that video that I think everybody should understand. One, let's not worry about whether you agree or disagree with Al. Let's just kind of walk through what happened. After the aforementioned, you saw the wife who was standing there saying, okay, I just want to get in my car. I feel threatened. I feel threatened. I feel threatened. Right now, she was saying that as she was patting her gun through her clothes. If you look at her, she's standing right there patting her gun. I feel threatened. I feel threatened. That wasn't somebody that felt threatened. That was an individual that was looking for an opportunity to use their firearm. Threaten is, ma'am, excuse me, please move out of my way. Like, you're not. When have you ever felt threatened and you're looking at your threat and you're patting your gun? Like, just keep on doing it, buddy. You're not threatened in that case, right? Now, could she have been a little bit intimidated, maybe a little bit frustrated? Sure, those are natural human emotions, and I think anybody in that situation can understand that, right? However, that's neither here nor there because she didn't display the gun, right? She didn't tell the woman she had a gun, and you probably have to be a gun carrier to really kind of notice what she did, right? Okay, cool. So you get into your vehicle. There are words being exchanged. The woman did say, and this is the mom. The mom said some pretty harsh, disrespectful things. And the husband and the wife at first were calm, seemed to be the calmer two. And they get into their vehicle. The mom is walking behind the vehicle for whatever reason. The vehicle backs up, almost makes contact with the mom. The mom hits the vehicle with her hand, and then the woman gets out the vehicle. Now, let's understand this. I don't believe that van purposefully tried to contact that woman. I don't believe that the husband tried to hit the woman with the van. I think that was a pure accident. I don't think that he tried to do it. I don't think that was out of malice or anything else. First of all, the vehicle would have been going a hell of a lot faster if I'm trying to run you over, right? So that was clearly an accident. Her striking the vehicle is a natural human reaction, right? Even if we're buddies, right? But I'm backing my car up and I don't see you, you're probably going to hit it. Like, hey, it's like a natural human reaction, right? So I don't think that there was any ill intent by the parties there. And then all of a sudden you have the wife who gets out of the vehicle and draws her gun. And here's where it goes bad. And here's where a lot of gun owners aren't paying attention. Where it goes bad is this. You draw your gun, you chamber around. She carries with an empty chamber. So she chambers around, she levels the gun at the woman. Clearly at this point, she is uncontrollably angry. She's yelling to the top of her lungs. She's out of control. She's really, really, really upset. Then after a couple of exchanges, because the woman immediately calms down. Most people that have guns pulled on them do. She calms down. She starts recording. The daughter is constantly recording. The woman, the wife, was so threatened that she was able to take the time to go inspect the rear of the vehicle while she's holding a gun on this lady, take, I don't know, 4 or 5 steps backwards, down the course of the van, inspect the rear of the van where the woman hit it, then keep the gun on her, get back into the vehicle, put her seatbelt on, let her window up while her husband drives off. That is not someone who's scared. That is not someone who's in fear for their life. Last thing you're going to do, if I just threatened to kill you and you really thought your life was in danger, is worry about putting your damn seatbelt on when you're trying to get the hell away from me. You're not going to get out of your car and check and see if I left magic marker on the back of your car while you got a gun aimed at me if you're scared for your life. It's not going to happen. So in that situation, you had two. I want to make this very clear. 2 parties who were doing idiotic things, both of them. And that was just one of those perfect storms of idiocy. Now, what happened from that is now you got the Michigan couple charged with a crime, both of them, because might have been off camera, but reportedly the husband displayed a firearm as well. I didn't see that. I don't think most of us seen it, but apparently he displayed a firearm as well. So you have
Never
both
saw
of them.
that.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. So, but that's what was reported, which is why he got charged.
He lost his job. They are now not allowed to leave the state. They can't defend themselves, and they had to turn over all their weapons as part of their plea bargain.
Yep.
And that's why right now, if you want to carry, it's good to have like USCCA, US Law Shield, and other good insurance companies that will protect concealed carry holders. And I don't know, never said anything. I don't think that couple had carry insurance.
Well, here's the thing. You have to read the policies of your carry insurance very carefully. If you look to be in the wrong, they're not going to cover you anyway. So
true.
That's something else to be considered, right? Granted, carrying insurance is phenomenal. Do it. He's absolutely right. Please do that. However, if you're in the wrong, let me go way overboard here. If you shoot somebody because of road rage, they're not going to cover, right? If you look like you're good for a charge, they might look into it, but it's in your policy. If you're good for a criminal charge, they're not going to cover. So I get what you're saying, because what you're saying is sound and fundamental. I have no argument there, but we have to be very careful about not educating people on criminal acts and then telling them just to have the solution in the end, because the solution is not going to be there. You don't pull your gun on people because they piss you off. And that's what happened. Because if you were legitimately scared for your life, first of all, you're in the best weapon there is, a car. If they were really scaring, come on, you're in what does that van weigh? I don't know, maybe 4,000 pounds. You're in a weapon, right? Yeah. So you can get away from people. So you got to be real careful about skipping over to education, because right now we have a lot of people, especially all these brand new gun owners, that are a little bit, antsy. The whole world is a little bit antsy right now. We got COVID, we got social issues. We're all on edge a little bit, right? And then you add in the fact that we got all these millions of new gun owners. Well, we have to be very careful about the examples we set for them, which is okay, because that situation is really no different if you think about it. It's really no different than 2 guys getting into an argument over a parking spot. And are we going to convince people that, yeah, it's okay if somebody gets too close to you or they approach your door to get out of your vehicle, pull a gun on them, walk around, inspect your vehicle while you have a gun pulled on them, get back in your car with a gun pulled on them, then put on your seatbelt, casually let your window up and drive away.
Right.
We can't paint that. We can't paint that picture.
No, we can't.
Now, at the same time, if somebody tells you to leave them alone and nobody's hurt, leave them the hell alone. You didn't have to keep antagonizing those people. You cannot bully manners into people, right? Right. So I don't want people to think that I'm only concerned about the woman with the gun. Now, she has the higher level responsibility, as we all do, by carrying a firearm. But at the same time, constantly antagonizing. Your daughter was not hurt. She was not physically hurt, right? You can't make people be mannerable. When you approached her, she was relatively humble, kind of like, all right, lady, just leave me alone.
Yeah.
Say your words and leave a woman the hell alone. So on both sides,
And right now, everyone seems to be talking more about the St. Louis case, which I want to get into next, but they're not really talking much on Michigan. From what I've seen part of the video that they weren't going to show where the black woman actually threatened that woman's husband with violence too when he did nothing. Although it wasn't on screen, she kept saying, "I dare you to lay your hands on me," but he wouldn't do it. And all they wanted to do was just get out of there.
Yeah, now I'm not saying what the woman said was okay. It wasn't, right? And
No.
her exact words were, "I'll beat your white ass." That's exactly what she said to him.
Yeah.
And yeah, unacceptable for this situation, right? For that temperature, for that climate, for that incident, for what was going on. Totally unacceptable. He didn't meet her with racial, and I'm not, and he didn't seem on camera to meet her with any kind of energy that deserved that kind of reaction, right?
Right.
Now, after she said that, he got a little bit more confrontational, which is understandable. But at the same time, yeah, what she did was wrong. I'm not gonna agree with what she did. What she did was wrong. What she said was wrong. Okay, cool. However, at the same time, words, "I'm going to beat you up." We have to understand this little thing when we start carrying firearms called we have to understand this little thing. Yeah, responsibility and even physical disparity, right? So when there are tons of people in general that believe self-defense is anything but they believe self-defense is common sense. And I tell them self-defense is anything but common sense, right? Somebody punches you in the face, unless physical disparity is really there. 85-year-old woman, 35-year-old man, I'm going to punch her in the face. Yeah, she can probably shoot you because of physical disparity. And you do pose a physical threat to her because of the disparity between the two of you. But when you have a woman, I don't know, I give her 5'4", 150, 160 pounds. That guy was what, 6'3", 310, 320 easy.
Yeah.
Come on. Like you can't you can't pull a gun on her, right?
No.
It makes no sense. Now, she was definitely inappropriate for what she said. She was inappropriate for threatening physical harm upon him. Yes. However, her threat of physical harm didn't equal serious physical injury or the substantial risk of deadly force. So guns didn't deserve to come into play.
No, they didn't. And it's not right that mother and daughter can get off the hook without being charged with anything, like this couple is being fully charged with threatening them when they were harassing them. Can't they be charged with harassment?
Well, you could technically charge everybody with disturbing the peace. Well, I don't know exactly how Michigan law goes, so I'm speaking about where I'm from, right? You can technically charge all of them with disturbing the peace, disorderly conduct. One of those, it's probably going to be a city ordinance violation, all right, and not a misdemeanor or felony. Everybody should be charged with that. Now, the problem is when you go through the kind of the legal system, and you have to take in our political climate right now as well, right? Because that plays a big part in the things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if the cops would have just pulled up, let's say the cops pulled up before the gun came out, right? Let's say the cops pulled up, right? Cops see it, they pull up, no guns have come out yet. They probably would have cited that woman for peace disturbance or disorderly conduct. If they couldn't have got her to shut up right away. If they say, "Hey, ma'am, calm down," and she keeps going, they'll probably cite her with that, right? $100 ticket, whatever. You pay it, you call it a day. However, once you escalate things to the point to where a felony is involved, everything else anybody does is a wash. It won't matter. It'll be the equivalent of you come right now and you know, like, I don't know, you do something to me, say you shove, right? You just give me a nice little shove. Maybe you're mad at me because I, threaten your dog or whatever, right? So you just give me a nice little shove to get my attention, like, "Hey, buddy, don't do that again." And then I turn around and I pull a gun on you. They're not going to charge you for the simple assault you just committed.
No.
They're going to go straight to the fact that I pulled a gun on you. You see what I'm saying? So your crime gets washed because what I did was so much worse, right? So you are viewed as the victim. Thus, any charges against you that are minor are going to go away. So we have to be careful about that. And that's another part of being responsible and understanding how the law works. If I do this, they're not even going to get charged.
No, they won't.
And they didn't.
In Michigan, their governor, she's a nut job. I mean, they have the state completely closed down to where, like, you can't really do much. I mean, just about a month or so ago, they had that whole thing where protesters actually went into the building armed, and everyone was so scared of the armed protesters, and they're calling them white supremacists just for simply doing everything right by the book, demanding their state be reopened.
Now, let me ask you something, because maybe I missed it. So I just want to clarify before I speak on it. I understand Michigan protesters, and I want to make sure I'm very clear in separating protesters from white extremists or white supremacists. Okay.
Yeah.
So I understand that there were protesters there, but was there actually a group of white supremacists there?
I don't know. The only ones I saw were in the state building, the Capitol building that they called the white supremacists, just because they were in the building holding Governor Whitmore accountable.
Okay, got you. So they're calling the protesters supremacists. Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah, cool. They did the same thing at Lobby Day in Virginia. The leader from Moms Demand Action said, huge white supremacist rally. I've seen the video. There were black people, there were Hispanics, there were a lot of people at that rally. So they got it all wrong. Moms Demand Action had it all wrong.
They normally do get it wrong.
Yeah.
They normally do. But no, you know, I'm going to always say this, man. Goodwill, good-hearted American people going to stand up against their elected officials, right? I think, see, somewhere in the line of history, I don't know where. Maybe I'm not that smart of a man, but it went from we the people to them the government as far as who has the power, right?
Right.
And sometimes you need to remind them the government that we the people elected you to represent us, not control us, not bully us around, not, you know, be the boss of us, but we elected you to represent us. We are your constituents. We want representation, right? Which is why we pay taxes, because we want you to go, we want you to run our state, we want you to go to the federal level and make sure we're being treated fairly and so forth and so on. So when you start doing things that it's not up to me or even you to justify how people feel. Once your constituents feel like you are violating your oath and you are not representing them or doing the job that they put you in office to do, and even if they didn't vote for you, well, they got you anyway, right? So now they can hold you accountable. And if you aren't doing that job, there is nothing wrong with them showing up to hold you accountable, whether I agree with them or not. If they disagree with what you're doing, I want to see more people hold their elected officials accountable. We'll probably be in a better place.
Oh, yeah, that's what we need to do. We need to hold everyone accountable. I already hold Mike DeWine accountable for his stupid acts here in Ohio. He is not the best governor we have ever had. DeWine is a rhino in disguise. Not only does he want major gun control, but now, you know, he already did the mask thing a couple of times. He wants to mandate it. Now, companies here in Ohio are mandating, like, you wear a mask when you go into their places, and that part I have no problem with. It should be up to CEOs and managers of the companies if they want you to wear a mask or not the government.
I agree. We agree. They're a private business, whether we like it or not. They're a private business.
That's right.
They can do what they want to do. That's free enterprise. If it was your business or my business, and I run my own business, and my rules are my rules, right? So I can't respect that, because you know what the cool thing about being a consumer? You can walk up and see the required mask sign and go spend your money somewhere else.
Yeah. No, we need to go over the St. Louis situation too. That one seems to be getting a lot more attention than the Michigan one. Right.
Well, St. Louis, obviously, you know, I'm born and raised there. So
yeah,
you know, that's a state that, you know, in a city that I love dearly, and I understand very well. 40 years of my life there. Recently, just relocated, not even 2 weeks ago. So that is my home, and that's what I know well. What I can say about McCloskey's. How do you say their last name?
McCloskey? I think it's McCloskey's or
McCloskey. Yeah. Okay, so the McCloskey's. Let's just once again quick recap, because I know more people know about that. So that area, just so you understand, that area, people are like, oh, they went to the suburbs. That area is smack dab in the heart of the city, for one. Okay, it's not in the suburbs. It is in St. Louis City. Two, the area is a private gated community. Sometimes the gates are open, sometimes they're not. They normally do have private security. It's back in the day, it was a company called High Tech Security, a bunch of off-duty cops that patrol the area. Normally at night and on weekends, not so much during the daytime. However, yeah, it is a gated community that sits smack dab in the heart of the city, not a block away from one of the poorest communities in the city. Okay, just for a little reference point. So protesters that were going to the mayor's house. Now, this is why I want people to be careful, because a lot of Second Amendment people, like we just got to saying, hold your elected officials accountable, right? Well, then bias starts coming into place. Yes, they went through the gate. I'm not saying that was okay. I'm not. But they went through the gate. They went through the gate to get to the mayor. So you got this elected official who, by the way, you got to understand what she did to drive them there. She doxed protesters that showed up at City Hall to give her a list of things that they wanted to see done. We don't have to agree or disagree with that, but they went to City Hall, outside of it, asked for their elected official to come outside where they can present her with a list of changes they would like. She then, whether the public could look it up or not, right? Because most people aren't going to go researching who the hell petitioned for whatever thing. They don't care.
No.
But what she did was she got on a Facebook Live with one of our local newscasters. She got on a Facebook Live in St. Louis and doxed all of them. Every last single one of them, full name and address.
That means they know wherever. That means people know where they live now.
Exactly. So their response was, now we're going to come to your house. We tried to come to your place of business, right? What we pay for. We tried to give you a list of what we wanted there. You turned around and doxed us. We came to City Hall, not your house. And you doxed us and giving our people our address and our full names. So what happened was the protesters said, well, okay, we're going to go to your house then, since we're giving out information. Because that is a form, when you do that from a position like a mayor who has done nothing right for the city, by the way, a very anti-gun mayor, may I point out. Once you do something like that, people are going to hold you accountable, because what she basically did was intimidate them, right? That's a scare tactic. So they went to her house. Now, were they right for going through the gate? Clearly not, because more people stay behind the gate than just the mayor. Okay. But the people were making a point that you can't hide. Now, a lot of people aren't supporting them because most of them are Black Lives Matter, right? Or sympathizers of such movement, and people don't want to support that. Okay, cool. However, understand, they went looking for the city official. What they did not do is go and destroy anybody's property. There have been no reports of anybody's property in that entire neighborhood being vandalized or destroyed.
No.
Okay, so they didn't do any of that. So when we get to the McCloskeys, sure, are you like on the edge and shocked when you see 200-300 people?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, you are. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Right. So here's where they messed up. The human reaction is seeing 200-300 people, which I'm pretty sure were loud because they know, chant, march, and stuff like that. And maybe people even said some derogatory things to them. I'm not sure. They probably did. You got 300 people. I can't control what everybody says. If we go to a two-way rally right now, man, you can't control what everybody's going to say to somebody when we're walking down the street. We don't know, right? So maybe they did. But the McCloskeys didn't mess up by arming themselves. I want to make that very clear. I have no problem with any American citizen when your spider senses start tingling to make sure that you have a gun in case something goes bad. I have no problem with that. Where they get in trouble is you go outside, okay? Now, I would have been okay if two things were being used and used correctly. It's called a rifle sling and a gun holster. If you would have went outside with your rifle slung, just having a conversation, like, okay, I'm just watching. I got no beef with you. If her wife would have been open carrying, which in Missouri you can, showing that, hey, I'm clearly armed, but I'm not going to put my finger on the trigger and point it at a crowd, waving it around. Then we can be having a different type of conversation about two people on their own property, open carrying, exercising their rights. They're just watching to make sure nothing goes bad. We wouldn't even be having this conversation right now.
No, we wouldn't.
But when you put your finger on the trigger and you start pointing a handgun at a crowd of people and like doing this, we can't excuse that.
No,
you can't. Now, I told people when that happened that was a bad move, and there are going to be consequences for it, because once you look through Missouri law and you understand how castle doctrine works, and you understand those things, I told people right away, like, they're going to be charged. Well, they were on private property. No, they were in a private neighborhood, not on their property. If that was the case, the police would have came and cleared everybody out because the area was considered private. It was a private neighborhood, not private property. Therefore, they stayed there. They didn't violate their property. They didn't vandalize it. And even if so, in Missouri, you can't use deadly force in defense of property. You can't. So
I did see the video, and the people who broke down that community and went in actually threatened that couple of killing them and moving into their house.
Yeah, now, here's my thing. If you were standing on your front porch right now, which goes back to my original point, if you're standing on your front porch and I come walking down your street and I look at you and say, man, you know what? I'm going to move in your house. I'm going to be sleeping right in your bed. I might even kill you to do it. And I'm talking, and you got your gun. If I make a move, use your gun. But if I'm just on the street talking,
right.
So that's where they made the mistake. I'm not saying don't be ready. I'm not saying if somebody is going to have a threat towards you that you're not ready. But his rifle being at low ready or on a sling, her gun being in a holster, how long does it take you, especially when you're open carrying, for Christ's sake? If somebody's like, yeah, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, you're like, okay. And then they decide to run up in your yard to attack you. How long will it take you to level that rifle or pull that handgun?
Probably 1 to 2 seconds.
At threshold, 20, 25 yards from, you got ample time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, even for a new beginner, I mean, God, you got ample time to aim and point a gun. If their words turn into threats, because I can stand 30 feet from you right now and yell threats at you. But if I'm not pointing a gun at you, if I'm not running at you with a knife or a brick, there's nothing you can do to me, but be prepared in case I decide to escalate things.
That's right. That's why self-defense is good, but it's also good to understand how self-defense works without wanting to get into serious trouble.
Right.
I mean, in some states, you can get arrested for defending yourself, like California, New York, Massachusetts. I mean, you look at those states, I mean, their laws are just terrible.
Yeah, and that's why we have to be, educated, because the one thing, and I know, look, education is people hate school, man. They absolutely hate school. And people don't like being educated. It's not fun for a lot of people, right? I'm a little weird. I actually like schools. I like just to get up like bright and early to go to school. Like, I just love school. Whatever. I'm strange. Forgive me. However, when you're going to carry a gun, and like I was telling people with all these social media pages on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook that are like, yeah, and the McCloskeys did the right thing, America 2A. I'm like, dude, I would like for you, if you were influencing 10, 15, 20, 100, 200, 300,000 people, I would like for you to be able to tell them, like, yes, I might agree with what the McCloskeys did, but let me also tell you legally how they can have some consequences. So it's okay to feel how you feel, but say, hey, guys, this probably isn't the best thing to do because there are going to be some consequences behind this. And what we have the city executing a search warrant, taking our guns from them, right? Now, at the same time, while everybody's defending them, understand this, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't defend them. That is your right. I'm not going to take that from you. But understand this. They are also, doesn't make them anti-gun, but for the context of this conversation, they are left-leaning. They are anti-gun. They have donated to anti-gun movements. So the same people that you want to down the top of a hill for don't even believe you have the right to have the same guns they have. And here's what I want people to also pay attention to. You know how when a lot of people say what you don't need, and you don't need this kind of gun, and you don't need that kind of gun, and they tell us what we should own and stuff like that? Most of those individuals are saying that because they understand that if they had that same firearm, they wouldn't trust themselves with it, right? It's a projection thing. They're projecting their insecurities upon you. Well, I can't be trusted with it, so surely you can't, right? Well,
right.
We just saw two anti-gun people demonstrate exactly why they don't trust themselves with guns.
Right.
They got upset, didn't understand the law, and they put one of them anyway, put their finger on the trigger and waved the gun randomly at a crowd of people because of words, minus any action, and minus any weapons being pointed at them. These are the same individuals that don't believe that you have a right to own a gun because of their own personal insecurities. So be careful about dying on the hill for them, because even if they make it over this hill, which they probably will, they got enough money. They're millionaires, man. They got enough money to get over it. When they make it on top of this hill, they still don't believe that me or you have a right to have what they have in their house.
Right. For example, like with Black Lives Matter, you know, people donate to them because they are standing up for protesting and they don't believe in our freedoms like everyone else. A woman in Indianapolis who said all lives matter was shot and killed by members of Black Lives Matter just for not agreeing with them.
Well, first of all, that young mother was 24 years old, right?
23 or 24.
Okay, so that young mother definitely deserves to be alive. So what I'm about to say now does not excuse whoever killed her. Whoever killed that woman should be under the jail, period.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for it. Now, I want to make sure that we understand that that story is not as simple. Now, this is from her boyfriend, okay? Her boyfriend kind of gave a more elaboration of what occurred. Once again, this is not excusing the outcome. Whoever killed her should be in prison. Make that very clear. She apparently was with a group of friends. I don't know how many, but with a group of friends. And in their conversation amongst friends, but they were out in public. In their conversation amongst friends, one of them, her or somebody with her, decided to use the N-bomb with the GA at the end of it, right? And their conversation. A group of people walking by overheard. Now, this is coming from the boyfriend. Overheard that. And that's how the confrontation started. In that confrontation, because of the argument, one of the people in the other group said, Black Lives Matter. And then she responded, all lives matter. And then more arguing continued until the two groups actually fist bumped. After the disagreement, they fist bumped and went their own separate ways. And everything seemed to be cool, right? Like me and you start arguing, then we kind of argue, and then we're like, well, maybe you're kind of a cool dude. All right, maybe I misunderstood you. All right, cool, man. We fist bump and we agree to go our separate ways, right? No harm, no foul. So what happened is that group of individuals that young lady was a part of decided to, leave X amount of time earlier. They're just going to leave the area. They see that same group they had the interactions with standing on top of a hill. The boyfriend then says he heard a gunshot. He doesn't know which way it came from. He didn't see the shooter. He just know he saw that group, and then he heard a gunshot. But he didn't even say that the gunshot came from that group. Said he saw the group, heard a gunshot, didn't see the killer, turned around, his girlfriend shot, and unfortunately she has passed away. So I'm not saying that somebody that was part of the original group did not shoot her, because that's very plausible. They could have. I'm not saying they didn't. But it wasn't as simple as an exchange of all lives matter at a protest and somebody turned around and shot. It wasn't that simple. Right. Now, it doesn't mean that somebody that doesn't support, BLM or the BLM movement did not shoot her. I'm not saying that. But we have to be careful about people riling us up and pitting us against each other. We always say media, right, media does what media does, right? So we got to be careful about when we hear a story that we want to believe in and we allow that same media to infect us. Whoever killed her needs to be in prison. They need to be caught. Her saying all lives matter is not a death sentence. No. Her disagreeing with you is not a death sentence. Even if she's the one who used the NIGGA, it's inappropriate, but it's not a death sentence. So whomever killed her and why ever they killed her is no excuse. They need to be put in prison.
That's right. And it's always good to disagree on stuff and then, respectfully understand from one side why you disagree. And then you understand why one person disagrees with you peacefully. Mm-hmm. Now, I have a friend, he's going to college, and a couple of weeks ago, I guess he posted something on the whole statue situation. He's for the statues coming down, but I'm not. And I understand where he's coming from. I mean, why glorify the statues? I don't glorify statues, but I like historical stuff, and, the statues are a part of history. I don't glorify them, but out of history, but you also have history books you can read out of to learn about these people. And to me, that's what we need to do to keep this country from going down a real terrible situation like it is right now.
When it comes to the statues, here's my thing. Because I I'm not going to call myself a history major, but I do study and read a lot of history. Anybody follows my platform, you'll know that, right? Now, I had an answer back when this first came up. I said, you know what we should do? Oh, we should do. For every statue that we disagree with because of a historical standpoint, we should erect an opposite statue right near it, right? So if you're celebrating Confederate general, I'm going to put up a Union general right next to him because we're going to talk about the history full circle, right? So that way, you know what? Cool. We can learn the history. If you decide that you're going to glorify Robert E. Lee, which in my opinion was a horrible man, but if you're going to glorify him, that is your personal choice, because you might glorify him because he is one of the smartest military brains we've ever had, right? The man's techniques are still being used to this day, right? From a military standpoint, forget his political views, forget, you know, his hatred of black people, because he absolutely did. Forget the fact that he killed John Brown. Forget all that. His military mind was sound, right? So from a military standpoint, I can get why people say, well, shit, hundreds of years ago, but we can still use his strategies today to win wars. Like, oh, right on, right? But I don't see anything wrong with erecting a Union statue right next to him, or another statue that states, okay, we're going to tell you how he lost. I'm totally okay with that. Like, let's just make sure we're talking about history full circle.
Oh, yeah. In fact, at the Battle of Gettysburg, he was so overcome with pride when he had General Pickett send his division in to take out the Union soldiers, the whole army, they got wiped out. Pickett had no division left. His whole division was wiped out.
Man, it was interesting times back then.
Oh, yeah. You have the muskets. And even then, I mean, those guns were just as good as they could be today.
Yep. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, and I hate how the politicians go, oh, well, when the Second Amendment was written, it was only for muskets. Well, that was military technology of the day. We should be able to own machine guns. We should be able to have tanks and rocket launchers. But, you know, it's hard to get those things.
Man, look, as long as you're going to be responsible for whatever you got, own whatever the hell you want to own. I don't doesn't bother me. I'm not intimidated by it. I'm not scared by it. Matter of fact, I wish if one of my neighbors, granted, you're going to need a hell of a lot of land, but if one of my neighbors, you know, right outside the city, you know, had a strip of land and had a F-16, the only question I have for him, the only question I have is, when can I ride? That's the only question I got, man. You got a tank, when can I drop? You got a bazooka, when can we fire it? That's all I care. You know?
That's right. And my uncle used to have a machine gun. It was a full auto Uzi. Shot that thing fun. The only two downsides to a machine gun, in my opinion, are accuracy and ammunition. That's it.
Yeah.
Minus the whole Hughes Amendment and NFA, which need to be repealed. But other than that, you know, I think if somebody wants to own a full auto, they should have that right. It shouldn't cost thousands of dollars just to get one and then have to register it.
You know, the crazy thing is, man, and I was having this conversation with some people that absolutely don't like guns. I said, here's the crazy thing. First of all, yeah, get rid of the NFA. We don't need it. Second of all, do you realize, let's just say a machine gun came down to the average price of AR-15, right?
Right.
There will be, after you sell out, because everybody gets excited and you sell the first, you know, several thousand of them or tens or 20,000 of them, whatever the case may be. After people get to shooting them, they'll be the first things on arms list. And we're like, yeah, this thing it's cost too much money, man. I'm spending, every time I go to the range, like a mag is, I'll be like, you know what?
Right.
Anybody else want this? I'm glad I got it. I'm glad I had the experience, but yeah, this thing is eating too much, because most guys that have it aren't going to put it on select fire. They're going to want to show their buddies all the time. They're going to use that third hole. They're going to run that thing hard. They're going to look back. They just ran through $1,500 in a day of ammo. I'm be like, crap. So take it off the list and let people make their own choices.
That's right. Yeah. And like we were talking a little bit ago on history, you know, like you said about a statue of Robert E. Lee, you want a statue of Grant next to him. Both generals are very good generals, and I like to think like military generals when it comes to stuff. So that way you can understand like where mistakes were made in each war.
Mm-hmm.
You study history or every war and every battle. You think like the general and you figure out where they could have switched stuff around to try to have a victory, but they didn't.
Well, you know what? I think at the same time, because you're absolutely right. And I understand that a lot of people from a military standpoint study them. And why not? I mean, do it. It's whatever, right? I think
Right.
that the other thing that we need to understand too is exactly how one image to us can represent one thing, and to somebody else it represents something totally different, right?
Right.
So when you start looking at Robert E. Lee and the Confederates total, and I tell people this all the time. If you go back to the Confederates and you look at that time in history, you got to be careful when people are telling you that they don't want to even see the Confederate flag or things flying above their head. You got to remember the Confederates, two things. One, they absolutely wanted to succeed. They did, from the United States of America, right? And if you look at their succession letters, I'll use Mississippi for an example. Their succession letter starts with stating that you want to free Black people, and that is not our interest. We don't want them to be equal to us. They state that in their official succession letter, right? So you have to understand, when other people are looking at that same flag, they're not looking at it. They're looking at, okay, you are willing to separate yourself from the United States of America to keep me a slave? Is that important to you? So we have to be willing to look through the eyes of other people. And then on top of that, something else that everybody needs to understand is when you look at those individuals, and this might, I challenge people about this sometimes. It's like, okay, there are two things that happen. One, a lot of Southern people, right? And I'm not saying that they weren't racist. I'm not saying that they weren't bigots. I'm not saying that they weren't jerks. And I'm also not saying they weren't some of the kindest people walking, because clearly everybody didn't agree with those times. Everybody didn't agree that what was happening in the country was a good thing. Otherwise, it would have never changed. So, but what you did have is that you had the government of the South telling the poor people in the South that you will fight in the Confederate Army. You will fight for the South. They also threatened them, because if you didn't have, I believe it, don't quote me on this, but I believe if you had anything less than 20 slaves, I think you had to have 20 slaves or more, and then you didn't have to go fight. Wow. But if you had property that didn't require slave labor, or let's just say you were a guy that just ran a local general store, or whatever, because all the land down there is not suited for cotton and stuff like that, right? So if you didn't have slaves and you weren't in political power, you were made to go serve. It was a draft, if you will, and you were made to go serve, and you were made to go serve under that flag. Now, even if you disagree with it, what they would threaten you with is, we'll take your land, we'll make sure that you never get business opportunities, we will halt you and make it hard for your family. We might put you off your land, take the deed from the bank, make you homeless, go fight in the army. So a lot of those boys were forced to go fight. I'm not saying all of them. Let's just split it down the middle. 50 wanted to do it. Hell yeah, let's go. And 50 were like, well, I have to, So they go fight. So there is a small segment of individuals that will tell you, look, man, my uncle was made to go fight in the war. We carried the flag because he died under that flag. Right. And then there are other individuals that fought for that flag because they agreed with what it represented. And then here's the other thing. I hate to break it to a whole lot of people, but there was one group called the Fire Eaters that were rich plantation owners and rich guys from the South that were a big engine in causing the succession of the states and the Confederacy. Well, the flag got commissioned in 1861, I believe it was, when the flag and the uniforms of the South got commissioned, right before, and I think it changed again in 1863, and then in 1865 the Confederacy was gone. But that original commission, that was done under Democratic leadership.
Right. And then today you have all these Democrats saying the Republicans are racist.
True. So, but everybody gets put on a little bit of a halt with that, right? So you have a lot of people that are, oh, I hate Democrats, but you're flying a Confederate flag. You're flying a flag of the Democratic Party. And then Democrats say, well, the if they're redneck or if they own a gun, and if they agree with Trump, they're all racist. Okay, but the flag that you want taken down is your flag. So
Right.
let's deal with that, right? So it puts everybody kind of in a oh crap moment, like yeah, deal with that bias, right? So that's why I try to tell people, man, education comes when we share with each other, right? So
That's right.
I'm not mad at anybody wanting to see them come down. I'm just of the opinion that, you know what, let's make history all the way around. Don't just have that monument there, put all the monuments around it. Let's everybody sit and have a conversation about who's who, right? That was just my opinion, but people taking it down, I do agree that it should be done from more of a if you're going to do it, more of a, I don't know, a legislative process, if you will.
Yeah.
Right? I'll have it that way. And because there are people, and I'm not saying I agree with them, but there are people, and I believe it was one out of, I forget what city, they did that and they took it down through legislation. And a collector bought it from the city. Like he bought it from the city. So the city made money, right? They got to sell it. They got to make money, which obviously should have went back into the city to help with whatever. And then a collector got to put it in his private collection, whatever, you know?
Yeah. The one thing I've studied, and I've done research on Robert E. Lee, and this here could shock a lot of people. He might not believe it or not, but he was actually against slavery. He only joined for the South because Virginia joined the Confederate side, and to him it was going to be hard to fight his own friends and family. He was actually offered a job as a Union general, but he turned that down.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. I think he also had a school for the children of slaves to teach them English and help them, get education too.
But see, and that goes to the hypocrisy in people. And we all carry a minor dose of hypocrisy in us. But, it goes to show, because this is the same guy that killed an abolitionist.
Yeah.
So if you agree with what he's doing, why kill him? Why hang him in the middle of the fort?
Right. I don't like that unless he was ordered to by government officials, and if there are police around and he was ordered to do it, it's hard to turn it down or turn away from it. If somebody told you to go kill someone and they were there with you, I mean, it's that or your life. I mean, that's probably the hardest choice someone would have to make.
So he was a leader at the time. I don't think many people would have questioned him. So I'm still going to hold him accountable and responsible.
I hold him.
Go ahead.
I don't like some of the stuff he did, but some of the stuff he did too, like the school for children of slaves, which I think I've seen that on a documentary a long time ago, but remember it. And the fact that he was against slavery, I like that of him for being against something that he knew was wrong. Now, joining the South was not the best thing because they wanted slaves, but Virginia joined the South and he didn't want to fight his own friends and family. That was the hardest thing about that war, is you had people in the North supporting the South, people in the South supporting the North, shooting each other. You're losing friends and family over slavery, and that was just sad too.
Now, I want to make something very clear to individuals too. The North was no better.
No, it wasn't.
Well, let's just make this clear. Now, the North might not have had slave labor because there wasn't the same necessarily agricultural demand. We don't have the same crops down south and things like that. But the North was no better. Case in point, the fugitive slave law. So everybody's like, well, yeah, the North is willing to fight for the freedom of all black people. And they went to war with the South. First of all, yes, slavery was a part of it, but there was a lot of big money and other things that were involved in that crap.
Yeah, because the North was going to tax the heck out of the South over the cotton machine.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, right? So it was, yes, slavery was absolutely a part of it, but it wasn't the only thing. It was, they had other beefs. And then the North, 1865, I believe it was, I could have my year wrong, but 1865, the federal government of the North, because the South didn't have a government anymore, the federal government of the North passed the Fugitive Slave Act, which returned all slaves back to their owners. So if you own slaves down south, even after you lost the fight, The North said, hey, all right, we're friends now. It's over. We fought. Done deal. Hey, you know what? You can come back up here and get your slaves.
Wow.
So,
did not know that.
Yeah, man, it's called the Fugitive Slave Act. So when you look at that, it's like, hold on now. So you guys did the right thing, but then you didn't do the right thing because after we won, it would be like, all right, that slavery's done. But no, you passed the Fugitive Slave Act, which would allow bounty hunters and other people to come up, get the slaves, and take them back. So the North wasn't necessarily your friend either.
No. In fact, even after the Civil War, we had black codes on what type of firearms black people could own, or the South restricted what they could own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what. Yeah, and NRA TV did a 10-minute ad with Dana Lash. Well, not an ad, but a 10-minute video on gun control's racist history. And I look back at what they did in the past by restricting, after the Civil War, you had the early repeaters. Oh, somebody can own that, or the single shot trap doors. All the black people could probably own were muskets and cap and ball revolvers, but they won't be able to own like trap doors or Henry repeaters. Then, of course, then in 1968 with the Gun Control Act, that was written in a race-neutral way where it affected both blacks and whites, but it was aimed mainly at black people because of the Black Panther Party.
Yep.
And that, should show people, wait, gun control is nothing but racism.
Now, who passed that act?
That was the Mulford Act.
By? Now, we know Mulford, but who told Mulford to write it?
Reagan, I bet.
Exactly. A Republican president. You know what I mean? Like, gun control is so neat. And then look at why Reagan wrote it, right? Because you're absolutely right. It was the Mulford Act. You're 1,000% correct. But Mulford, that act was written because when the Black Panthers went up to the state capitol, right? Now, what did the guys in Michigan just do?
They went up to the state capitol.
All right. So the Panthers, still a group, went up to the state capitol with guns and demanded that their representative be held accountable.
That's right.
And we got gun control because of it.
Yeah, and that affects everyone, that act does, because, certain guns can't be imported because they don't meet sporting purposes, which is not what the Second Amendment was written for. But also at the time, too, it was under a Democratic president, Lyndon Johnson, who didn't want to lose black votes. And I seen a post where he said, quote, I will have these N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years.
Yep.
That should shock a lot of people.
And it doesn't. Not nearly enough.
No.
Yeah, and he was real coy about it too, Have you ever heard the recording?
No.
So there's a recording of him saying it. And it's been amplified and like mastered because obviously it was real old. But he says, and then he's going through a kind of the whole discussion isn't there, but you kind of get the base of the discussion. What he's basically saying is, we're going to be so good at tricking them into believing that we're their friends. We're going to have them loyal to the party, not necessarily the individuals, right? And you know what? I hate to say it, but he was absolutely right.
Nah,
he was absolutely right.
Yeah, because people are telling, I hate to bring up the media too, because they're also kind of spreading it. They're saying like, they spread out stuff like, oh, the Republicans are the racists. They were the ones who wanted slaves after the Civil War. Really? Because I think when the Triple K was formed, the political party was Democrat.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah. Now today, it's associated with far right wing extremist. But when it first came out after the Civil War, it was a Democratic Party. These people don't really study history. They just go by what the media says and what government officials say.
You ever heard of the Lily White movement?
No.
So the Lily White movement, long story short, was basically there were a lot of, and look, I don't politically align myself with any party, but I am about being honest and I'm about being accurately recording what happened in history. So the Lily White movement basically was this, and it got coined by a gentleman out of Texas. And what was basically happening is there were a lot of blacks that were joining the Republican Party. If they were able to hold a position, most people chose to join the Republican Party. So we'll use Wilmington, North Carolina for an example. Wilmington, North Carolina had a lot of black representatives on local and governmental level. Okay. And they were the Republican Party. They was just black, but they chose the Republican Party for the representation.
Right.
I believe it was 1898. Guess what the Democrats did to them?
They lynched them?
Killed them. And on top of that, here's the other thing that was scary, though. There were a lot of Republicans. There were a lot of Republicans that were trying to push black people out of the Republican Party because they didn't want their kind representing them. So you got one side hating you because they don't just like what you look like, they don't like you, but you feel like, okay, well, I'm going to align myself with politically what I think is going to make our country better, right? And you're killed for that, and you're just holding legal office. And then the ones that you sided with, you're like, dude, I believe what you believe. We're going to make this country good together. Let's go. Let's work. And then you got some of them looking at you like, yeah, I don't like you either. We want you out of the party. Now imagine
know that.
Yeah, man. Look up the Lily White movement, dude. It's really interesting where they were wanting to push black people out of the Republican Party. And many people couldn't understand it. And a lot of white people couldn't understand, like, what, dummy? Why would we do that? Right. But there were enough of them where they wanted to push black people out of the political party, which is another reason why when you fast forward a little bit, blacks started kind of going a little bit toward the Democratic Party because there was a big push by Republicans to get them out of the Republican Party. And so that was easier for them to okay, we'll forget that we just slaughtered another group of you. We'll throw you this little sweet line and we'll have you come over. And if you're not being welcomed over there, we'll gladly welcome you over to the Democratic side.
That's shocking.
Yeah, man. Look up the list. It is really, really interesting. It's a short read. It doesn't take much, but it's interesting. Yeah.
Then I remember last year at the gun rally, you talked about Black Wall Street. So I did some research on that.
Yeah, Black Wall Street was not even well, I guess now it will next year it'll be 100 years. I think we celebrated the 99th, 1921, so 99 years this year. People that don't know that story, I mean, you need to. It's upwards of 500 people slaughtered off of a lie.
And I think that lie was a woman. Was she having an affair and then tried to claim rape when she got pregnant?
Now that's Rosewood, Florida. That's in 1923.
Okay, that's the one I'm thinking of. And that one too, I mean, people knew that she was lying about her being raped by a black man, that people didn't care. They just went there just to slaughter people for no reason.
Yeah, you know the crazy part about that too? Not only did the town, now you got to remember when we're talking about too, you're talking about 1923. You don't think people knew who was sleeping with who in what town? Like, come on, of course.
Right.
Everybody knows Susie is sleeping with Bill when Ted's at work. Like, come on, everyone.
Yeah.
So it was known that she was having an affair on her husband. What happened is her and her lover got into a spat, and her lover bruised her. So she had to explain to her husband when he got home from work how she got the bruises. She didn't want him into an affair, so she just blamed it on a black passerby. Now, Sumner, Florida, and Rosewood, Florida, were neighboring towns that were relatively harmony, right? One mainly black, one mainly white, but they were in harmony. Well, she just said it was a black passerby, a black traveler, right? Because she couldn't name the people in the town because they all knew them. So she had to pick this stranger that nobody would know, right? And the sheriff, here's the interesting part when people, and I'm going to kind of wrap how the government plays a part in it. The sheriff started a posse to go look for this perpetrator. The posse grew out of control and became murderers. The posse called over to Gainesville, Florida, which is 45 minutes away. And it's interesting because I went to Rosewood late last year. I was in Rosewood. I went to Rosewood and I drove to Gainesville. And it's about a 45-minute drive. Well, the KKK was having a rally that night in Gainesville. Just so happened. So the posse called over the KKK to come help them kill the black people. The sheriff realized he lost control and actually turned and started helping black families escape. So the state of Florida, for anybody that doesn't know, I believe it was 1993, maybe 94, the state of Florida became the first state in the union that admitted that they couldn't protect their residents and paid them restitution.
Wow.
Yep. Because they couldn't protect them. And one of the sheriff deputies started a posse that went out of control and started a murderous rampage of killing every black individual they saw in 1923, based off of a lie. Even the woman admitted that she was lying. Still no arrest, no apologies, no nothing.
That's sad. Yeah, I got a friend from Gainesville, and you've been on his show before too. Hank Strange.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in contact with him. I mean, about 4 years ago, I was played by a girl who hurt me real bad and found out all she does is sleep around. So after that, I just started fighting hard for the Second Amendment, learning more history on stuff to answer why gun control is so racist now, up to the point where, like, I have you on my show right now.
Right.
And this is keeps me highly busy on the fight ahead of us.
Yo, tell you what, man. You keep fighting a good fight, and you'll get all the loving you can stand.
Yeah. Well, you know, to me, this fight is more to me than just our guns. It's without the Second Amendment, the whole Constitution would fall. I mean, look what happened in 1946 in Athens, Tennessee. You ever study that battle?
Oh yeah.
Battle of Athens.
Yeah, man. That was a real interesting. They were just tired of the government, man.
Yeah. You know, they made a TV movie loosely based on the event. It was shot in Texas in 1945, but the storyline was just simply based around what happened in Athens. And that incident, you know, really sparked, you know, why the Second Amendment's important to us.
And people need to understand the Second Amendment is important to everybody for every reason. I don't care. And one thing that I challenge, you know, my community on in particular, and stop letting racists own guns. Sure they do. Pretty sure they do. Does everybody that own a gun that's white, does that mean that they're racist? Absolutely not.
No.
Right? So stop allowing the media to convince you every time you see white men with guns equals racist. Because what they're doing is getting you to hate what they believe. So if they can convince you to hate the people, you're going to automatically hate what they love, right? So
that's right.
I hate you so bad that I'm willing to say, oh, you love your little guns? Yeah. Hey, take their guns away. You'll get my vote. Take their guns away. Dummy, guess what they're doing? They're just using that as a game because they want your guns too. They don't want anybody to have them, right? And you're being used as a pawn. So stop letting them do that. Oh, he's white and he said something I don't like, so that makes him racist. Well, I'm black and I might say something a white dude don't like, and I got a gun. Does that make me racist? Like, so no. Like, no. You need the Second Amendment. And guess what? Here's something else I'll tell people. It is no secret that well, we can go back to the indigenous people, but I'm just going to talk about African Americans. It's no secret the slaughter that's happened to our people here. Well, some of it is a secret. They hide it, and I have to bring it up. But however, once you look around, you have to realize something. Think about it like this. If you are going to war, right, or you feel like you're in a fight, and your enemy is using bottle rockets, just for a loose example. But for some strange reason, they keep winning all their damn fights, and these bottle rockets are really helping them win. Well, why in the hell would I say I do not want bottle rockets if I believe bottle rockets are helping them win the fight? I want all the bottle rockets. Yeah, bring me all the bottle rockets. I might not even know how to use the bottle rockets, but I do understand that someone else keeps using bottle rockets and they keep winning their fights. So why in the hell would I want to turn over or not accept the fact that I should have access to bottle rockets too? If it's a tool of freedom and victory, damn it, I want it.
Well, here's something that kind of helped out getting Germany to become as bad as it was back in the 20s and 30s. in the Weimar Republic, they had a national registry of or of all guns, so the government knew who had what. When the Nazis came, and then when the Nazis came to power, they used that to disarm their political enemies, and of course the Jews. And but two of the things that the Nazis knew what to do to take control of Germany is you take their guns and you control the press. That was the first two things they got away, and that's what they're trying to do here in America.
Yep. And if you don't believe him, research it, because he's absolutely correct. Yeah, they absolutely did that. And you know what? And guess what? It wasn't as easy as you somebody showing up and you telling them that you lost those registered guns in a boating accident. They would find you, jail you, or kill you.
Oh yeah. See, and I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe he is our Lord and Savior. And I hate how the media likes to attack Christians just because a Christian company won't do a cake for a gay couple, you know. They attack them to the point where out in Colorado, where that baker just couldn't do the cake. Not only was he he lost 40% of his business, he was receiving threats of being killed just for simply standing up for his beliefs.
Yeah, I don't believe. Now, let me be very clear about this. If someone, like, say, I walked into a bakery,
yeah,
and they looked at me and said, "We're not making you a cake. Well, we got a problem."
Right?
We got a big problem, right? Totally different. But if I go up to them and say, "Hey," they're like, "Hey, how can I help you?" I was like, "Hey, you know what I want? I understand that you're, or maybe I don't know, but you're a Christian organization." And I say, "Hey, I want a cake with Lucifer. And I want demons dancing all over this cake, and I want praise the devil on top of it."
Right.
And if they're a Christian-based company, they're probably going to tell me no.
Right.
Like, "Sir, we're not going to make a cake with Lucifer on it," right? So if you were doing anything that impedes or goes against their religious stance, I don't think they should be forced to do it. Now, if a gay couple would have walked in and said, "Hey, we want a cake," and they're like, "Are you gay?" And they're like, "Yeah, get out. We don't serve your kind." Now we got a problem. But I don't think that they should be made to do things that blatantly go against their religious beliefs. I just don't.
Right. I mean, like last year at the rally, I mean, you had a gay speaker, Chris Chang from season 4. You know, I don't believe in his lifestyle, but, you know, me and him have one thing in common, and that's standing up for the Second Amendment. We can disagree on stuff, but when it comes to fighting for our rights, I would defend his right to own a gun.
And Chris is a good dude. Chris is a buddy of mine. He's been to St. Louis. We went out. We had drinks. We had cigars. We've talked at conferences. I've had him on my IG series, Stogies and Straps. Chris is a really, really good dude. And me and Chris have had this conversation. Like I've said, you know, man, with anything, all right, we're just having to be talking about lifestyle, but with anything, I can love the person and not like the sin.
That's right.
Right. So if it's no different than if one of my buddies was cheating on his wife. Right.
Right.
I love you, man, but I don't like that. It doesn't make me hate you. I just don't like that. Or if I got a buddy that steals a candy bar every time we go in the store, I'm like, dude, you know, I love you, man, but you got to stop stealing the candy bars. I don't like that. So it doesn't mean that you hate the person. No. You just might hate some of the decisions they make. But at the end of the day, if you're not trying to harass them, keep them from gainful employment, you're not berating them or belittling them, you're not being prejudiced toward them, you are allowing them to be free, live their lifestyle, and in polite discussion say, "Hey, man, I love you. I just don't like that thing, but you're still cool with me." You know, then I think that's how we all like get along. You know how many people that know me? I got how many people that look at me and like, dude, I do not like this, and this about you. But they don't hate me. They just don't like certain things that I do or certain things that I stand for. But it doesn't mean they hate me. And these will be the same people that will argue with me about something, but if they saw you trying to beat me with a bat in the street, will shoot you in the face.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to have people who can get along, even if we can disagree, but, you know, you got the far left, you got the far right that attack, and that's what's ruining this country. And it's a shame.
Yeah, stay in the middle with stuff, man. That's why I don't align myself politically. Now, look, And at the same time, I don't mind people that do, right? Because people have a right, and that's the thing. See, people like freedom until it's not their flavor.
Right.
And I'm stealing that from a young lady named Rhonda Mary. But people like freedom until it's not their flavor, and I'm paraphrasing. And what happens is you're wearing a Trump hat.
Yeah.
And I say I don't like Trump. And so now I'm mad at you. What the hell am I mad at you about? And I can come to you and say, hey, I don't like this, or this that he did. And then you can say, okay, well, if you want to enter the discussion, based off what you said, I believe this, and this to be false. I believe he said this, and right, then we can have a dialogue.
It's
no different than when people support Obama. Let me explain something to people. If you are, especially a black man or a black woman, and out of 45 presidents, you get one that looks like you, you're probably going to support him just because.
Yeah.
Right? Now, it doesn't mean that you should go hating that person.
No.
Because they voted for him. Just like I'm not going to hate you if you vote for Trump. Now, if you ask me a question, I can give you an opinion about him. And you can say, hey, well, how do you feel about Trump? I'll be like, well, let's start with this. What about that whole due process second? Let's take the guns first.
I do not agree with that.
Bam. And that's how you see what you just said? You see how you say, yeah, I like him, but that thing he said, I do not agree with that. And that's what a lot of people don't give folks a chance to do. Now, to your point about people being far to one end or the other, when you get somebody who's such a Trump supporter that they can't simply say that, those are the people I have a problem with. It's like, dude, I don't trust you because you're blind. You can say I like him, but I don't agree with the fact that he helped bump stocks. Well, not helped, he did. That he took bump stocks away. You know what happens? People start validating it. What are stupid pieces of plastic anyway? What?
Well, it's not about the bump stock. Because when HR 3999 came out, it said rate increasing devices. So looking over that, I have an SKS, semi-automatic 10-shot rifle. Love that thing. Okay, well, that could be a rate increasing device. And that's a FUD gun, basically, because to the far left, or like the anti-gun side, 10 shots, no special features like on an AR, SKS would be considered not an assault weapon. But under rate increasing device, I could pull that trigger fast. That would be considered a rate increasing device in order to be turned in by the government if they want to.
Yeah. What about your Geisley trigger, your Timney trigger?
Oh, I don't.
I'm just saying, just turn Jerry Miculek in. Just get him out of here, right?
Yeah. I've seen his shooting. He has a fast trigger finger.
Right. So we got to be careful. Yeah, you're right. Rate increasing device. Like, what is that? And guess what, guys? That happened under Trump. So
yeah.
You can say, yeah, dude, I get it. That sucked. I admit it sucks. I don't like him for that. I'm going to hold him accountable for that.
Oh, yeah.
But I still think he's our best option. And if that's where you're at, I'm cool with that, because you can say, yeah, I'll hold him accountable for that, but I still think he's going to be our best option for whatever going forward. Then I can sit and I can have a reasonable conversation with you, because you're just not like, Trump, damn it. I'm like, well, hold on. Let's talk about what he did against guns. No, just Trump. I'm like, dude, I can't talk.
Right.
I can't have it.
I hold him accountable for what he did with the bump stocks and then the red flag laws, but NRA helped with the red flag laws. Chris Cox made that video. The NRA supported regulations on bump stocks. They switched sides and said they don't support the ban.
This is why I don't like gun rights being tied to politics.
That's right. Because they think they can regulate it. Look what Governor Malloy of Connecticut did after Sandy Hook. SB 1160.
That was the one. Was that the one that allowed the lawsuits?
No. SB 1160 happened like right after Sandy Hook in April of 2013, I believe. But made people register their AR-15s, certain types of pistols, and mags over 10 rounds.
Yep.
A lot of people didn't comply with that. So hats off to those people.
Yeah, man. Nobody should be okay with anybody infringing on your gun rights. Now, the fact that me and this gentleman can sit here and we can have a conversation, he's clearly, and look, I'm I'm aligned. Nobody knows, and it's nobody's business where I stand. But I can sit and I can have a conversation with him that's reasonable. A, because we're just respectable people.
Yeah.
B, because if you can say, I don't like these things about this person because those things go against what I believe in, then if we have that kind of stance in this country instead of all this tribalism and this blind loyalty, then we can open up and we can start having all kind of discussions, because then we the people can have a conversation. Because like this conversation is threatening to people. Right? If a media outlet or a politician wanted me and you, because of our appearance, to be at odds, this conversation is uncomfortable for them. Right?
Yeah, it is.
So we have to be able to keep that same mindset to say, if we keep talking about certain topics, we will find something I disagree with you about. We will find something that you disagree with me about. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to call you a racist. It doesn't mean that I'm going to start yelling at you. It doesn't mean I'm going to try to kill your career. It just simply means, hey, you know what? We agree on these things. We see differently on these things. But what we were able to do is have a rational and meaningful conversation about those things. And if we, the people, could do that, if we, the people of all kind of different sexes and orientations and blah, 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 could come to the table and say it's going to be us through discourse, having a conversation to go tell them, the government, what the hell they need to be doing for us, we can flip this country in a year. We can flip this whole country, but we won't do that.
We need to do stuff peacefully. And I've heard Tim say this over on his channel. You know, we can petition the government. We want to do everything to avoid a second civil war in this country.
Nobody wants to fight, man.
No. You ever heard, well, of course, this phrase is from one of the John Wick films with the phrase parabellum.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Latin phrase that means if you want peace, prepare for war. You know, I want peace, but I sight on my guns. I go target shooting from time to time. And most of my guns, except my SKS and Mosin Nagant, you know, the ammo's kind of hard to get for. But I sight them in and I train. You know, I don't want war, but if it comes to that, you know, I want to make sure I'm accurate. That's why I always remember the phrase parabellum.
Yeah,
well, peace, prepare for war.
I put up a post, I think it was about a week ago, maybe. And it's me with, you know, a bunch of guns laying out.
Oh, yeah, that's the one I commented on a lot about trying to get you on my show.
Yeah, it was that one, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And like I said in the caption, I pray for peace, I don't beg for mercy.
That's right.
You know, like, and we should all have that, because we can agree to disagree, we can have all these conversations, we can do all these great things, but when somebody or some entity, be the government, decides they're going to, let's just say, force you to take a COVID shot, let's just say they're going to force you to turn over your rightfully owned property by force.
Yeah.
You got to be, you know,
armed and prepared.
Perfect.
See, I prefer, I might get called a FUD again, but I love old surplus guns to buy and shoot. So you give me something like a Carcano over an AR, I'll be happy with that. Downside, it holds 6 shots. And the ammo, you know, I'd probably have to order online or go to gun shows for. But if I'm more accurate with that over an AR, I'd rather have that than an AR.
Hey man, some of those. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's just my personal view, because I love history and I love historical guns like that. Now, does that mean I want ARs banned? No. If somebody wants an AR-15, get it. Heck, if you want a machine gun, you should be allowed to get it without all the hassle of filling out registration forms and paying thousands of dollars.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
And old guns are cool. I came when I got into guns, I was coming into the more modern, because I've been into firearms right around 20 years now. So I was coming into more of the more modern age, you know, polymer based. It's kind of when I got into it. But I really, you know, as I learn more, you know, because I'm a constant student myself, right?
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, like, I got a lot of guns, and I got a Colt 1903. You know, like I got some stuff, but old guns, you know, really, really impressed me. And you know what gets me when I watch like old movie? I forget The Enemy at the Gates. You ever seen that movie?
Yeah, love that movie. That's why I got Mosin Nagant.
Look what that guy could do with that freaking rifle.
Yeah. At the beginning, he picks the officer, gives it to him, takes out 4 officers and a foot soldier, 5 shots with that aim. And that round is highly common, so I'll be able to get a lot of that and go out and shoot that rifle.
Ooh, you gotta respect it, because my God, was he putting in some work with it. Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Man.
That's why comm block weapons are my favorite, because they can go a long time without being cleaned and be still reliable. I've seen torture tests on AKs, so that shows how good guns made in communist countries are.
They make guns well.
Yeah. And that's why history to me is very important to have, because when you study what's happened in the past, you want to prevent it from happening in the future.
True, or you're doomed to repeat it, right?
That's right.
And we should never want that. That's why I don't think that people should also, and as an individual American, do yourself a favor, not you personally, but anybody listening to this. When someone starts to share their account of history, be very careful about telling them, because this is something else big that's going on that is hurting us. And I don't mean like hurting feelings, it's hurting our mission. When have you ever, and if you have, I will be shocked. When have you ever heard somebody, when we talk about Pearl Harbor, say, "Oh, you need to get over it"?
Never.
Never, right? So, but do you know when I talk about Tulsa or we talk about Rosewood, people will tell you, "Get over it."
You don't want to get over it. I mean, it's the past, yeah, but you always want to look to the past to avoid it happening in the future.
Right. So, and then my other favorite. Well, guys, there's no systemic racism, and this is what I always want to tell people, that there are a lot of people that are vocally pro-gun that also are right-leaning, right? I don't think we can argue that. So what I'll try to explain to them is this. I'm like, guys, stop saying there's no systemic racism. Let me ask you a question. The Biden running for president right now was also part of the 1994 crime bill, right? Although I don't do politics, I despise Hillary Clinton and everything about her, everything about that woman.
There was a video of her. I watched this on Colleen Noir's video, but there was a video of her saying the word super predators.
Yeah, I was in high school. We watched that. I remember watching that when it happened.
Yeah.
Oh, what the hell did she just call me? Like, what?
Some of this has to.
I'm a straight A student. What the hell did I do?
Nothing. Well, some of that stuff too, the Democrats pushed, also goes back to the shooting of Philando Castile, which was sad. You know what? Because the media and even movies, they push the stuff to make black people look bad, and that's not the case. Because not all black people are thugs, not all cops are racist, and not all white people are nice. Like you and me, we get along fine. But does that mean there could be somebody out there who would want to hurt you just because of the color of your skin? Yes. Do I know them? No. That's what makes it scary.
Did you see the video? I shared it on my IG page. The guy with the rebel flag painted on the tailgate of his truck had the noose hanging off of it.
No.
So it was in Indiana, Lawrenceville, Indiana, and it was recent. Like, this was in the last couple of weeks that it happened. And he has a rebel flag on the tailgate of his truck, right? But that wasn't all that bad within itself. But then he actually tied and hung a noose from it, right? And he starts the video off by holding a piece of paper that says "F you," right, to whomever I guess has a problem with what he's about to show. And his buddy records him, and he's just like, "Yeah, I've just got this noose hanging here. You never know. You might need to, pull somebody out, or it's a leash for my dog." He's clearly being very, very, very condescending, right? And it's like, so yeah, people like that exist. We also had the guys also in Indiana. I have no idea what the hell is going on in Indiana right now, but also in Indiana recently, there were, I believe, 5 people that might have walked onto private land, but they were in the woods. So, sometimes you can own a section of woods, people don't know, whatever, and they walked into some private land. And out of all the people, out of all 5 of them, about 4 or 5 white guys decided to pin the one black dude against the tree. The one black dude.
Wow.
Right? And if the video's out there, you can watch it. They pinned the one. So if you got 5 people, damn it, if you want to detain them all. You know what I mean? Right? But they pinned the one black dude against the tree, and all the other 5 individuals, plus the black guy, stated that one of them said before the cameras got to rolling, before they can actually start recording it, he said that's why they started recording. One of them said, "Hey, go get the rope."
Wow.
Now, I'm gonna say it again. Doesn't mean that. And he's some big. I mean, well, at least one of them was a pretty big boy. You know, one of the guys that was at attitude and had a problem about it. And so I get people asking me like, "So what would you do in that situation?" Because I said, first of all, they would have been shot if it was me, and you should carry a gun as well.
Yeah.
Second of all, they would have been good and fucking shot. And really, if you training is so important, because the reason that they wouldn't have put their hands on me is because once they said, "Hey, you're on private property," I'm sorry, I'm gone. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on anybody's land. I'm not welcome. I'm not invited. Yes, sir. My apologies. I will leave. Right? No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. The second thing is, if they decided to persist, I'm going to turn around. I'm going to stand flat-footed. Ain't going to be no words of, "Oh, sir." I said, no. Now I was going to be flat-footed. Now they're going to be like, okay, this motherfucker, he ain't really about playing games. Like, he is really standing flat. Like, oh, okay, leave, buddy. That's what I was trying to do before you start following me. Right? Now, if that would have persisted, then they would have got 2-1. Mozambique, soft body armor technique, whatever you want to call it, they would have received it. But training gives you a certain confidence. It's kind of like most of us have never been, and I don't mean seeing them at the zoo, right? Have you ever stood outside in an open field with a lion with nothing in between?
No.
Right?
No.
Now, if you were standing outside with a lion, would it scare the hell out of you?
Yeah.
Because you've only seen what you've seen on TV, but you've never been bit by a lion. You've never been attacked by a lion, but you understand that a lion ain't to be fooled with, right?
No.
So people need to understand how to have a presence of a lion.
That's
you need to
right.
be able to carry that presence with you, where people can say, "You know what? I'm going to do whatever I can do to avoid a conflict with you," right? And in that situation, I tell everybody, don't run around carrying a gun because of a white guy might hang you from a tree, or a black guy might shoot you, or an Indian guy might chop your head off. Don't carry a gun for any of those reasons. You carry a gun for all of those reasons.
To protect yourself.
Protect yourself, period, right? So, so there are people out there that absolutely do hate you, me and you, for the color of our skin. There are just the same white supremacists that hate you for having a conversation with me.
Right.
So, and there are going to be people that are black that are mad at me for having a conversation with you. So, guess what? Be who you are. Be confident in who you are. And whether it's the dude with the noose hanging from the tailgate or the guys that said, "Go get the rope," whomever it may be prepared to deal with any situation if it's presented to you.
Right. Well, we've been on for about an hour and a half, so probably get ready to go here soon. So how can people reach you?
I'm most active on my Instagram, but you can find me over all the platforms the exact same way. The Real NOC. On Instagram, it's The Real _NOC. Everywhere else is just The Real NOC. You can also, if you want to research who I am and my stances, you can also simply Google Kevin Dixie. That's D as in dog, IXIE. Everything will come up. No Other Choice, nootherchoice.net is also our website, which is being redesigned right now, so bear with us. But those are all the ways you can find me, interact, conversate. The only thing I tell people is we have mature adult conversations, and that's where I like to keep it.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on tonight. I will like to have you back on my show here soon. Take care, man.
You as well, brother. See you later.
See ya.